we want to come out and we silence them. Come out and rape us, kill us, take our flesh like this. So we protested in the Western Gate to stop the things like that in the name of the AFSPA. So we protest at the Western Gate of Kangla because the Indian Army was dangerous, very dangerous to the prestige of Manipur women. So we decided to do something which they never do anything in the future. This is not for the women of the Manipur. We want to stop raping and to keep eyes towards the prestige of the women in this world. India is a democracy, but in Manipur is ruled by the Indian Army. The Indian government never do anything for the to protect the prestige and to protect the lives of the people of Manipur. So we have to do something.
Meira Paibis coming to protest with their bodies by stripping themselves is one of the most powerful moments I've ever seen in the whole world of how women's resistance can be such an important tool for social change. The first story of feminism started in Manipur when the British political bungalow, Agent Bungalow, was burned down by miscreants. And the British political agent said, since the British bungalow was burned, men should come and build it for them, okay, Manipuri men. This is when the women of Manipur, knowing that British soldiers don't touch women's bodies, they formed a body of wall and negotiated with the British political agency what is known as the First Women's War, Nupi Lal of 1904, where for the first time women used their bodies and their solidarity to negotiate an equal rights for Manipuri men at the time. The women in the market realized there was no rice in the market and found out who was doing it. They physically went to those, at the time there was no, 1939, there were no cars in Manipur. They were shifting the rice to bullock carts. And the women actually turned the bullock carts upside down and said, you are not going to feed others while you starve us. By putting AFSPA in our civilian spaces in Manipur, like in our schools, in our marketplaces, in our rice fields, in our cinema halls, all our cinema halls are army barracks, literally. All our hillocks are military barracks now. You see, if you look at the tenets of army is trained to tackle the enemy. The question that we ask is, are we the enemies of India? Armed Forces Special Powers Act is such a racist act. The reason is, one country, two law, How can you have one country, two law? It says that Even an unborn child in a mother's womb is considered a suspect as an insurgent or someone who is anti-national when India imposed a martial law since 1958. Non-stop. Since the independence of India, the history of 45 million Indians, people in this part of India, is not in Indian textbooks. So there's an English saying that in the darkness, even a rope looks like a snake. For many of us, navigating between the state and the non-state has been, I call it the guns of the state and the guns of the non-state. So we've seen on both sides, it's about a patriarchal nationalism and a patriarchal form of subnationalism in which women and people of other genders, we have to find our and fight our own space.
What happens in a situation like this when there is a system of power that is constantly asserted and in place to also dehumanize you and in their terms like show you your place, and it's done in this very gaslighting way of like this is done for your own good because this is a disturbed area and things like that. It's layered oppression that happens as a result, and there is a common experience of helplessness. Folks can often be in a state of survival, constantly trying to protect themselves, while also knowing that the systems that are supposed to protect them, that are designed to protect them, might be the ones causing them harm to the point of rape, death, abductions. They're never safe, and constantly feeling like you're unsafe can do significant damage, not only to our psychological health, but also to our physical health, because they're all interconnected together. And then in the larger sense, India is a collectivistic society. So where folks who feel like we're responsible for family members, for our neighbors, for children, for just people within our communities, and we find comfort in that. There is a lot of healing in just like community strength. What happens when your entire community is now going through a collective experience of oppression is that it's also this community experience of helplessness. But there can also be factors of resilience that often allow these communities to survive every day versus being able to live the quality of life that they absolutely deserve. Difficulty in grasping knowledge, language delays, developmental delays, otherwise, the heightened experiences of nightmares, relational troubles, displaying violent behaviors, and they can all also get villainized a lot to make it seem like an area is disturbed where this kind of oppression is more required. But those inappropriate behaviors are also a consequence of survival mechanisms, because the environment that the child is growing up in, nature versus nurture, right? The environment is not nurturing for age-appropriate psychological development.